In May 2026, Marcus Chen opened an email that he had spent 3 years and $200,000 expecting. He was 26. He had graduated from Harvard Law School 3 weeks earlier. He had a diploma with a gold seal, a clerkship on his resume, and a suit he had bought specifically for the offer letter. The email was from Sullivan Cromwell, one of the most powerful law firms on Wall Street. The subject line was one word: decision. Marcus had already pictured the moment. The corner office he would rent in Brooklyn, the student loans he would finally start paying back, the text he would send to his mother in California, who had worked double shifts at a laundromat to get him here. He clicked the email. It was not an offer. It was a deferral. Not a rejection, technically. The firm explained that due to technological restructuring, they were reducing their incoming associate class by 60%. The remaining 40% would start in 18 months, at a salary that had been quietly reduced by $30,000. Marcus was in the 60%. And the worst part was not the no, it was the reason. Sullivan Cromwell was not broke. They had just deployed Harvey AI. To understand why Marcus was fired before he was ever hired, you need to understand the business model of a modern law firm. And once you see it, you will understand why the entire legal profession is cracking from the bottom up. For the last 50 years, elite law firms have operated on a model called the pyramid. At the very top, a small group of partners. They charge $2,000 an hour. They attend board meetings. They negotiate billion-dollar deals. They have relationships with CEOs that span decades. They are the face of the firm, and they are untouchable. Below them, an army of junior associates, first-year, second-year, third-year lawyers who do not negotiate. They review, they draft, they compare. They spend 300 hours reading contracts line by line to find the one clause that could kill a merger. They spend weekends in document review rooms, eyes burning, looking for emails that might matter in a lawsuit. They do the work that partners do not want to do, and they bill $450 an hour for it. This is the engine. The juniors generate the hours, the partners generate the relationships, the clients pay for both. And for decades it worked, because there was no alternative. If you wanted to know whether a billion-dollar contract was clean, you needed human eyes. Lots of them. Young, sharp, exhausted human eyes. Enter Harvey AI. Harvey is not a chatbot. It is not a better version of Google for lawyers. It is a legal reasoning engine built on top of OpenAI's most advanced models, trained on millions of court opinions, contracts, regulatory filings, and due diligence reports. It was launched in 2023 and backed by Sequoia Capital. By 2026, it was not optional. It was survival. Here is what Harvey does. A junior associate might spend 40 hours reviewing a merger agreement to flag risks, inconsistencies, and regulatory issues. Harvey does it in 12 minutes. Not a rough scan, a complete analysis, with citations, with red lines, with a risk matrix ranked by probability and financial exposure. The kind of work that used to require a team of 6 first-year associates working through the weekend now happens before the partner finishes his morning espresso. But the numbers are what kill the jobs. Sullivan Cromwell, Kirkland & Ellis, Latham & Watkins, Davis Polk. These firms have between 2,000 and 4,000 lawyers each. Roughly 60 to 70% of those lawyers are associates, junior associates. And historically, those juniors were not just workers, they were investments. The firm hired 200 of them every year, knowing that 80 would quit within 4 years, 10 would make senior associate, and 2 might become partners. The pyramid required a massive base to produce a tiny peak. That base is now evaporating. In 2024, the average first-year associate at a top New York firm billed around 1,800 hours annually. By 2026, that number had dropped to 1,100 for the associates who still had jobs, not because there was less work, because Harvey AI had absorbed the difference. A contract review that used to
take 300 hours now takes 20. A due diligence process that required 20 associates now requires 3. The work did not disappear. The humans doing it did. And here is the insight that nobody is talking about. The AI is not replacing lawyers, it is replacing the pyramid. The partners are not just keeping their jobs, they are getting richer. In 2025, profits per partner at the top 50 firms hit an all-time high. Kirkland & Ellis reported profits per partner of $7 million. $7 million. While they were quietly reducing their associate hiring by half. The math is brutal. If you can build the same amount of work with half the junior staff, the money flows upward. The partners absorb the margin. Why? Because partners do not sell document review, they sell judgment. They sell the ability to walk into a boardroom at midnight and tell a CEO whether to sign a deal or walk away. They sell the phone call that prevents a lawsuit. They sell relationships built over 20 years of trust. And trust is the one thing Harvey AI cannot generate. Harvey can read a contract. It cannot read a room. It can flag a risk. It cannot decide whether that risk is worth taking for a client who needs the deal to survive. It can draft a clause. It cannot look a judge in the eye and argue why that clause matters. The partners are safe because they are not doing legal work. They are doing human work. But the juniors were doing legal work. And legal work, it turns out, was mostly pattern recognition dressed up in expensive suits. Document review is pattern matching. Contract drafting is template assembly. Due diligence is database comparison. Regulatory research is search and summarize. These are exactly the tasks that large language models excel at. The first-year associate who spent his first 2 years learning to spot inconsistencies in a non-compete clause was not building judgment. He was building a skill that an AI could master in 6 months. And that is why the salaries have collapsed. In 2023, the starting salary at a top New York firm was $215,000. In 2026, the firms that are still hiring first years have dropped that number to $180,000. And the unspoken truth is that many of those hires are AI-assisted associates, meaning they are expected to manage Harvey, not to replace it. Their job is to prompt, review, and sign off on AI-generated work. They are not lawyers, they are legal quality assurance. So what happens to the Marcus Chens of the world, the Harvard graduates, the Yale graduates, the Stanford graduates, who spent 3 years learning the Socratic method and case law? They are facing a job market that no longer needs their primary skill. Law school applications in 2026 have dropped by 20%. The most selective schools are still full, but the tier below them, the schools that fed the mid-tier firms that fed the pyramid, are seeing enrollment crises. Students are doing the math. $200,000 in debt, 3 years of lost earnings, and a job market where the entry-level position has been automated by a tool that cost the firm $200 a month. But this video is not a funeral for the legal profession. It is a map of where the money is going. If you are a law student today, or a young associate, or a parent paying for law school, you need to understand the pivot. The corporate M&A junior track is dying. The contract drafting factory is closing, but 3 areas are exploding, and they share one common trait: the AI cannot do them alone. The first is AI compliance and governance. Every firm that deploys Harvey AI needs a lawyer who understands what the AI is doing, who can audit its outputs, who can defend those outputs in court if a client claims malpractice. This is not traditional law, it is legal engineering. The lawyers who understand both the prompt and the precedent are billing $600 an hour, and there are maybe 500 of them in the entire United States. The second is data privacy and cybersecurity litigation. As AI systems ingest more client data, the regulatory framework is fracturing. GDPR in Europe, state laws in California, Texas, and New York, sector-specific rules for healthcare and finance. The AI cannot
conflicting regulations across jurisdictions. It can summarize them. It cannot strategize around them. Privacy lawyers with technical fluency are becoming the new rainmakers. The third is complex litigation, not document review, trial work, the kind of work that requires reading a jury, adapting to a hostile witness, negotiating a settlement in real time while the opposing counsel bluffs. The AI can prepare the brief. It cannot deliver the closing argument. Trial lawyers are becoming rarer, more valuable, and more expensive. And if you are an investor, the signal is even clearer. The money is not in the law firms that are cutting costs. It is in the legal tech companies that are enabling the cuts. Harvey AI is private, but its competitors are not. Legal tech indices outperformed the S&P 500 by 18% in 2025. The companies building contract analysis tools, deposition summarizers, and regulatory AI scanners are the picks and shovels of this gold rush. The law firms are the mines, and the mines are shrinking. But here is the deepest takeaway. The legal pyramid is not just a business model, it was a training model. For 50 years, the way you became a great lawyer was by doing terrible work for 2,000 hours a year. You read bad contracts until you could spot a bad clause in seconds. You reviewed documents until you could smell a smoking gun in a data room. You did the grunt work that built the muscle memory of judgment. Harvey AI has removed the gym, and now the profession is discovering that you cannot build judgment without repetition. The partners who are celebrating their $7 million profits are not thinking about 2035. They are not thinking about what happens when there are no more juniors to promote, no more associates who spent 10 years learning to think like them. They are harvesting the pyramid without planting the next crop. And when those partners retire, the firms will face a choice. They can try to hire AI native lawyers who have never done document review and hope they can learn judgment from a screen. Or they can shrink into boutique partnerships of 10 elite lawyers and 1,000 AI assistants. The pyramid will become a pillar, narrow, tall, and inaccessible. Marcus Chen did not become a lawyer, not in the way he expected. He deferred his offer, took a coding bootcamp, and now works at a legal tech startup in Austin, training Harvey AI on regulatory filings.
He makes $160,000 a year, which is less than he would have made at Sullivan and Cromwell. But he is one of the few who saw the collapse from the inside and jumped. The AI did not replace the lawyer, it replaced the ladder. And if you are climbing a ladder that no longer exists, the only thing that matters is whether you look down before the rung disappears.